Hey, I'm Kevin from Adventure Whatever, and today we're going to talk about the time I climbed up Mount Spokane on snowshoes with my snowboard and then snowboarded down. Oh, yeah.
We out here. We boarded. Those my new gloves.
It's getting cold out, and I wanted to maybe share a little bit of old adventure for some renewed Stoke coming into the new season. So if you're watching this when it kind of comes out, maybe early into the season even, let me know how you're feeling about the upcoming 2025-2026 season in the comments. I am excited. I want to go snowboarding, but I'm also kind of meh. So I'm hoping that in doing this, it will revitalize Stoke. It was a cold day in December. December this day. Here's the Strava. Leading up to this adventure, I had been wanting to go snowboarding to get some good quality alone time and wanting to get my heart rate up. I needed some exercise. Just family, work, the dark winter, all had me overwhelmed, and I felt like I needed some relief. So this trip was going to be my medicine. So I was excited. I wanted the nature, I wanted the snow, I wanted the exercise, and just being able to go out and shoot a video felt really nice. Being out there and just having a little bit of silence. So I left super as early as I could, so that I could be there as soon as the parking was going to open. I figured if I get there at that time, I can hike up, board down, and be home before noon. So here's what happened. I prepped. We got all of our gear, socks, legs, top, all thermal, and balaclava. Then we got snow boots. Then we got snow pants. Then we got snow coat, gloves, and helmet, goggles. That's the gear for on us. I used my backpack. I retrofitted a strap to it so that I could strap my snowshoes, because I was always going to be using one of the two. So when I was hiking up on my snowshoes, I had my board strapped up, and when I was boarding down, I had my snowshoes strapped to my backpack. And then, of course, there's like water, food. I think I took my camp stove and my notebook, thinking that I might get to the top and be able to have a moment to like sketch or something. So, yeah, trying to stay fueled, hydrated. It was going to be a couple hours, definitely. So I knew that kind of going into it. I drove up, butt crack early dawn. Not even dawn. It was dark, and it had been snowing. I got there on time, got my temporary parking pass. I was like feeling good, looked around, kind of scattered the area a little bit, and then I got set up. I put all my stuff on, I put my snowshoes on, and I started walking. Christopher walking away. So I started walking, and yeah, as I'm walking, I'm like passing the lodge. It's lower, and I'm following the signs, and I'm going, and it gets a little steep, but I'm like still going. And maybe a good little ways in, I noticed that it's like kind of like snow raining. Well, no, it was snowing, but when the snow would fall on my coat, the heat from my body would melt it, and then because there wasn't a lot of water repellency on my coat layer specifically, because it's kind of old, it's got to be like 2010. And so been through a lot of refreshes and stuff like that. And it was starting to get wet out because it was just getting drenched. And I looked inside and it was drenched. And like sometimes you sweat and it's like a little bit moist inside your coat, like whatever. But this was wet from the inside and out. And I had not even made it halfway, maybe. So in retrospect, this should have been like maybe a place where I turned around. But I didn't want to. I kind of wanted to keep going, maybe just around the bend. You know, it's kind of how it goes. Just wanted to keep going a little bit further. So we kept going. And I kept getting cold. And it was continuing to be cold because as I kind of climbed, there was less and less trees. And at one point, there was like no trees, and I was just like on my face, and it was very windy, and I was cold, or I was wet, which, you know, made me even colder. So at this point, I probably should have turned around.
I don't think so.
I was like actually getting cold, but that just kind of made me get into lizard brain mode, and I knew that if I just kept pushing myself, I would just keep getting warmer, or like at least maintain my body heat. So eventually I was just like singing along to myself, one step after the other, made it to the top, and I sat for a minute. It was really windy at the top, I remember, and I wasn't necessarily climbing anymore, so I kind of started to cool off a little bit, which was exacerbated by the wind. So things were getting cold, and they were getting cold fast. And I kept looking at the map, and I wasn't exactly at the top, but I knew that I needed to probably get out of there, and it was close enough that I felt like I had made it pretty much to the top. But the problem therein lies that I had to traverse over some black diamond type terrain, and I had not really been conditioning myself, and I was already tired from hiking. Not like super tired, but like tired enough. Like my legs were like, okay, we could be done soon. My legs. And so I'm trying to traverse like this terrain. There's no main runs. And what I'm finding is that it's very shelfy. So I think there's some like service roads, maybe, that kind of ran through there or something. And it was just like stairs, like huge, giant sized stairs. And you would go and you would go and you would go, and then it would be like, and you just drop down. And then, you know, my legs didn't really like that. And I was like kind of shook already. And I was just trying to get back to like the main run, so that I could actually, like, you know, get some turns in. Like I hadn't been snowboarding very much this season yet. So the really shelvy kind of stuff kind of threw me off a little bit, because I just figured I could just traverse smoothly, but that wasn't really the case, and those shelves kind of took a lot out of me. I was probably halfway through this like shelfy section, and morale was down, and I got some cramps around that time. I had been drinking, but I hadn't really been drinking any of my electrolytes. I didn't feel like I really needed it. But when I got to this point, I realized that I kind of did. The cramps kind of started coming. I stopped shooting as much because I just kind of felt like I was almost in survival mode. Like I just needed to get out. And it was cold. Like when you are falling off these shelves unintentionally, you kind of want to like sit for a minute. But when you're wet and it's windy, but you want to rest, it becomes cold quickly. So because of the cramps, I forced myself to drink some of my electrolytes. I threw those from the bag. I dug through the bag, threw them in the water bottle, and I kind of sat for a minute and took a breather, even though I knew that it was going to get cold, but I just felt like I needed it more than I needed to be warm, in a way. Like I needed to recoup. So after a minute or two, a couple minutes, whatever, I felt good enough to continue. I think I ate something a little bit at this time. There wasn't a lot of cramps after that, thankfully, but there were some, and I kind of had to like, baby my legs. That way I didn't get like a huge cramp that was just gonna like take me out. Took it slow, I guess, and then eventually we got to the main run. This guy right here. Slowly, kind of just like made it down the rest of the run, just like still trying to enjoy myself, but like obviously like very beat at this point, both like mentally and physically. I didn't think that there was any way that I wasn't going to make it out, but it was definitely a little discouraging that I didn't make it out as quickly as I wanted to. Part of the problem was that I didn't really condition going into this. Should have, obviously. Yeah, I pretty much winged it. And I eventually got back to the car, and it had snowed several inches since I had left. The whole trip was this long, and I made it back to the lodge, and I was tired, and I was cold, and I was wet. So I immediately hopped in the car, turned on the heater, started stripping my wet clothes, and thankfully I brought like my big old comfy sweater, a big hat, and an outdoor blanket, and all those things helped me heat up. Once I warmed up, I kind of talked to the camera a little bit, so here's a little bit of me in that state of mind. I hopped back out, scraped the snow off the car, had a snack, had a sit, a little Red Bull, head for home. Yeah, I was humbled by this experience, but I was also like happy with it. I felt accomplished, and that was nice. And that's pretty much the story of the time I climbed a mountain with no proper training. I have been snowboarding for a while, so that wasn't super like the hard part. But the snowshoeing, obviously, hiking in the snow is hard. But I hope to do some more of it in, the season to come. Hopefully, we'll see you out there. Oh, and don't worry, I got a new coat. I tried to give the old coat a refresher, but from what I can tell, it's kind of like I think it's just like too old. Is kind of the advice that I've gotten both like in shops and just like online. And the reason for that, I think, outdoor snow waterproof kind of stuff. As they age, the fabric loses its ability to repel water, which is like duh, but it also like it gets the fabrics loosen. I think with this garment specifically, it's just threads are so loose that it almost like you can't seal it anymore, and it's always going to get wet. So that's just kind of what my experience has been with it. If you think I'm full of shit, I would really like to know, because I love this coat and would like to continue wearing it, but it just consistently wets out after even as little as a few runs. Definitely by half the day, I'm like wet. And I ran a control with it. I took, like the Chair Queen kind of coat that I have access to out, and I wore that for a day, and there was no problems. Like, it wasn't just like me sweating too much. It wasn't me like rolling around in the snow necessarily. I mean, I fall, but like not like that. I think it was just snow gets on and it melts and it kind of seeps in from the top down. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Love you guys. We will see you next time. And don't forget to find some time to adventure. See you later.
The weather outside is weather. Oh, we have the cold. Suffering for you.